All right, we are recording. Well, kia ora, welcome to anyone who is watching the video. Um, we're very sorry. We just had a opening karakia and welcome, which I forgot to press record on. So welcome and welcome to this journey of ministerial formation. And what we're going to do is kind of a starting, getting to know each other as we're going to go around and do some little introductions, quick introduction of ourselves, and then a couple of minutes to just tell the story of how we came to know Jesus, how we came to faith. So a 2-minute testimony. So you've got about a minute to introduce yourself and a couple of minutes to give a little bit of your story. And I'm going to attempt in Steph's absence to make the very clever timer that she put on here work. And hopefully that means that we will have on screen. Can you guys see the timer? Oh, okay, I'm going to pause it and will that reset it? Stop timer. Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm going to start at Hannah, and Hannah is going to begin for us. Ready? Go.
Kia ora. Thanks, Melissa. What a mission. Kia ora te whānau ko ngā te whakihata iwi ko te tiriti o Tangituku Kawanata. Ko hana at home. My name is Hannah. I live down here in Christchurch, Ototahi. Go to the Well Church with Alison, who's there for me. But might be somewhere else for you. We were doing like a brief intro of what our life is, what is ministry as well, or not? Yeah, okay, great. I work at the Well currently on staff and also as a youth worker with 24/7 at Cashmere High School, and have been part of, Melissa babysat me in the early days, have been part of the Wesleyan whānau since day one, with a good few years at the Baptist church down here before the Well started. That's what my life looks like currently. And I'm on, hopefully one day will become ordained. So I'm kind of in this as a part of that journey. But my story of coming to know Jesus, I was raised in a Christian home by very intentional Christian parents. Faith was always a really real thing around our home. But it was also quite intellectual. And so I think I had a bit of a faith crisis when I got to university. Was kind of really questioning all the things that I knew about God in light of the university ideas and lecturers that I was around, but really came out of that with a real encounter with the person of Jesus, which I hold really dearly. It was really, really cool. So since then I have been walking really, really close with God, have done a couple of years of overseas missions, which was a really sweet experience of God working through me. And I've been involved in ministry leadership stuff kind of ever since. And that is my story. Nice to meet you guys. You're on mute.
Well done, Hannah. You managed to be well under the 3 minutes. So well done. I always think it's very mean to tell people to try and tell their story in such a short period of time. But there you go. You did really well. Thanks so much for sharing. The next person on my screen is Francis. So Francis, would you be happy to go next?
Yep,
I'm gonna push play.
So, all right. So, hey guys, I'm Francis. I'm from the City Crossing Church. I think we're fairly new to the Wesleyan Methodist Church. I think we joined about 3-4 years ago. But that's pastored by Pastor Joel Ditalo, Filipino pastor. He's also my uncle. So I think I joined, yeah. So a ministry, what do you call it? I'm a youth leader in the City Crossing Church. So I'm looking after the new youth group that just showed up last year. I mean, they've been around for a while, but we only started the youth ministry at the start of last year. So it's fairly new to all of us. But yeah, I what did I do? Oh yeah. So my relationship with Jesus, I've known Jesus my whole life since I was born. I was born in the Nazarene Church, and then I came to the Wesleyan Methodist around 4 years ago, same time as City Crosslink. But I didn't really have that strong, intimate relationship with Jesus until like 2 years ago, if I'm honest. But yeah, that was something different when I finally started going more serious about my Christian life and with my relationship with Jesus, and my pastors asked me to come and do this ministerial student, so I thought I'll give it a go, even though I have a little bit of time. But yeah, I'm willing to give it a try and see how far I can go. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francis. Cool. So the next person on my screen is Wame. You able to unmute?
Unmute. Okay, yep, unmute now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right, the
Bulabinaka.
time is going to start.
Bulabinaka. Okay, Bulabinaka, everyone. Yeah, I'm Wame. I'm from Sayoni Wesleyan Church here in Auckland, Fijian congregation. Yeah, I've moved from the Methodist to the Wesleyan Church since 2006. I'm still with the Wesleyan now. Yeah, about me and my walk with Christ. I think I started my journey in 2000. I wasn't really um, what can I say, a devoted Christian until 2000 when I gave my life to Jesus. I give my life in a different way. Usually they stand up when they call. I write down my name because I was in a youth camp. Yeah, firstly I brought up in a Christian family back in Fiji. Everyone is Christian. Goes to church, so I was brought up that way. But in 2000, then I gave my life to Jesus. Yeah, that's how I become a more devoted Christian. So yeah, from then till now, I've been in the church. Working for the church. I'm one of the servant leader in Sayoni, and I have been. Yeah, I had this call, but I couldn't take the first step to come into ministry. But time has come for me to step forward. As I look around, no one else I can see, who can lead us at this time. And I've made that move to come forward and raise my hand and say, here I am. You can call me and to do the work for the ministry for Sayoni. I think there is no other in the church which, we can look back to. I think this is my time for me to work towards to be a pastor of the church. Yeah, that's me. I'm married with 2 kids. My time is over. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Melissa.
I'm on mute. I'm talking away here and you can't hear me. Thank you so much, Mame. Um, Alison, that brings
Yeah.
us to you.
Very good. Yeah, so I'm Allison, originally from the States. I've lived in New Zealand for almost 20 years now, but the accent doesn't go away. I was raised in a Christian family, and I remember in the States we have, it's called Vacation Bible School. So in the summer, churches will have a week where kids can come, and it's a program to really, like, it's an outreach program for kids to learn about Jesus. And I went to a Vacation Bible School program when I was 5 at a church that was near our house. It wasn't our normal church, and I remember like God just moving in my heart. And I was the only one who stuck my hand up, and I went out and prayed with one of the leaders, asking Jesus into my heart. And so I feel like I've known him that whole time. But of course, through life, kind of like Hannah was saying, like, yeah, faith means different things at different points in life, and felt like I really came back to God in a very real way when I became a parent and just recognized all of my limitations, and that I couldn't do it on my own and needed God. Like, I needed him to hold me so that I could hold my kids. And so the last 13 years have just been a real growth journey and surrender to him and and obedience. So I'm at the Well Church. I'm on staff, have been since April. Didn't realize that there was a call to ministry on my life. So still kind of exploring what that looks like. But yeah, my role on staff is really just, we're at the size now where we need really good systems around leadership. So I'm really supporting our leaders as they lead their teams. But it's such a learning curve all over the place with what is ministry, what is pastoral care. So I'm very excited to be doing this course and just to kind of explore that with you guys and hopefully learn from you as well.
Awesome. I remember to actually unmute myself. Thank you so much, Alison. I'm gonna see if I can make that go away now. Look at that. Magic. Oh, thank you so much, all of you, for sharing. I should do the same. I'll give you my little very quick me. So just to reintroduce myself, since we didn't record that opening bit. Kia ora. My name is Melissa, and I'm Director of Ministerial Formation of the Wesley Methodist Church of New Zealand. So basically what that means is that it is my role to help nurture and help flourish this process of ministerial formation from people who are beginning to kind of explore that call that's stirring, right through to people who are at that point of ordination, and hold them and lead them and help them to grow through that process. And we have a board that I work with, and Stephanie Couch, who is our Next Generations national leader, but is currently on maternity leave, usually does a lot of work with you guys as ministry students, but at the moment you get more of me, and you'll get more of Steph from next year. So I'm married. I have 2 kids who are about to turn 13 and 15, 2 girls. Emily Rahira and Ariana Rebecca, and I'm married to Jacob, who is a librarian at Te Waipapa Taumataro, the University of Auckland, and he works in cultural collections, looking after the digital media and art acquisitions teams. So that's me as a person. I'm also a local church pastor. And I currently lead Session Community, which is a church in East Auckland. In terms of my faith story, I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My family growing up were not people of faith, but I, from a very young age, had quite a keen kind of sense that there was something beyond me, and was very questioning, and found myself pushing to be, when I was about 4, I pestered my parents to take me along to Sunday school, which my mum uncomfortably did, and then used to go and drop me off and leave me there and come and pick me up, which I'm not sure what the church thought about that, but I loved it. Along the way, I engaged through getting involved in Girls Brigade, and I had a Bible in schools teacher who was later my piano teacher, who was quite influential for me in my faith. And then in my final year of high school, a really good friend of mine who I also work with invited me along to church, which was Trinity Methodist Church, which was also the church that Hannah's family were at. Invited me to come along, and so I came along, and from the first time that I came along to church with her, I just really felt like I had come home. And there was this just very quick exponential growth from there of just really digging into scripture, which was something that was has been really formative for me in my growth in faith. And and then it was just going on and on and on from there. So I'll leave that there because I'm well over time already. There you go. The person who talked for the longest, unsurprisingly, is me. At least I didn't collapse into coughing this time. There we go. Cool. Thank you everyone for sharing your stories. It is just it's so cool to hear about how, because this journey of formation really begins with that very first call that we hear, which is Jesus calling us. So it's so special to hear those stories of that beginning of that call that begins with Jesus first calling us, God first calling us. So what we're going to do this evening is, because I know that for some of you, your local church pastors have kind of really encouraged you to jump on in, and you have feet first, but you're still, some of you going, I don't know what I just agreed to. So part of what we're doing this evening is kind of an orientation. So to give you a picture, and hopefully it's a picture that doesn't freak you out going, oh my gosh, this is a lot. I didn't know this is what I was signing up for. Don't freak out. What looks like a lot in reality is it's a lot about us meeting together, exploring with the formation program that we do as a denomination. We're not focused on getting you to do things like assignments and stuff like that. This is not the kind of academic formation. That academic formation is still, if you're wanting to progress through to ordination, is something that you will need to do. But we do that happens externally, so we get you to do that through another provider. But what we do with our little formation bit is kind of an add-on. It's about helping you to understand what ministry means, particularly within our Wesleyan context. It's exploring what being called to ministry means within the Wesleyan Church. So we look at things like the different kinds of categories of ministry that we have in the Wesleyan Church, the different options that are available for formation, like church planting, licensed ministry, commissioned ministry. Some of those words might be familiar to some of you, and some of them might be completely unfamiliar terms. So we talk a little bit about what those things are, what it looks like, and the kind of options that are available. We talk through things like why we ordain. Not every denomination does, but we do within the Wesleyan Church. So we talk about what that means and why we do that. We talk about our understanding of what it means to be a pastoral minister, and what the difference between general calling, which is something that everyone who is a Christian, who is following of Jesus, has an experience of calling. But when we talk about calling to ministry, we're calling about a different kind of calling, which is doesn't make you more special, but it's a particular calling, just like some people doctors or nurses, and they have specific training for that. And I have a friend who is a high school teacher and very much understands that as their calling from God, and they are, just as I am committed to my calling as a minister, they're really committed to their calling as a teacher. We have different callings. So we talk a bit about that difference between that general calling we all have to disciple people and grow the body of Christ, and the particular calling of some to ministry, which, like I said, it doesn't make us more special, but it is just recognizing how God's gifted you and what God is specifically calling you to. So just to give you a little bit of a picture of what this looks like, I'm just going to share my screen with you. So our formation program, if you decide that you want to continue right through to, if you're wanting to candidate for ordination, then it's a kind of a minimum three-year formation journey. But for many people, and I would say probably most people, it does tend to take longer, because often you're juggling ministry, you're juggling family life, and you're juggling study requirements as well. And so it's often people are doing this part-time, and so they're doing bits here and there. So what I'm showing you is what it looks like if you're doing kind of everything very tunneled all in, and doing it in that minimum kind of time frame. But we have options for breaking things up more for people who are doing things as more of a part-time same thing. So our ministry student formation program, what we do is offer 2 ministry intensives every year. So for you guys, because we're starting mid-year, we're seeing our year as being from now in 2023 to the middle of next year. So this half of the year in 2023, we'll just do one, which is an exploring the call one with our ministry students. There'll be some skills workshops, and what we do with skills workshops is we generally work a little bit with the group that we have and look at what their needs are and what they are keen to have someone come and run a workshop with them, which we can do online, in person, or a combination of both. Yeah, so that's how the schools workshop shops work. And then we have what's called supervised ministry experience. And the supervised ministry experience is the if you are, whoops, I've gone ahead of myself. Go back. Oh, it stopped. That doesn't matter. The supervised ministry experience is essentially we call it a course, but it's not really a course. It's not about us teaching you something. It's about how we manage your ministry experience that you're getting in your local church or the context where you're doing ministry. So I think for all of you, you're doing ministry in local churches, but within our licensed ministers, we have some who are working in NGOs, and so in mission agencies, and we have some who are working in a chaplaincy space, and some who are working in local church spaces. So we have a number of ways that we recognize people as ministers, which includes missionaries and people working in education and chaplaincy. So we have different categories as well as that working in a local church. So the main component, supervised ministry, is something that whilst you are in this kind of formation journey, you always need to be enrolled in the supervised ministry program. So it's not something that you stop and start. It's basically how we continue to kind of ensure that you're in an appropriate ministry placement, both for your well-being and your development. and that it's how we gather some information that then becomes how our board evaluates your progress and how you're growing. So part of what I'm going to share my screen again. Part of what I sent out to you and that email with many hundreds of attachments. The particularly important bit in there is this supervised ministry experience manual. So this gives you a picture of what supervised ministry experience is about. So there's some things in there that when you connect to the Google Classroom, we talk about as being assignments, but they're not assignments in the traditional sense of being an assignment. They are just, and whilst we attach a kind of a point number to it, that's more about how much of your overall market's worth, but we don't actually give you, if you do it, you get all of the marks, if that makes sense. So the weighting is about how much of your kind of course that makes up in terms of the grade, but we don't actually grade them. We give you all of the full amount if you do it, because what we're asking you to do is just things like having a ministry income in place, letting us know who your supervisors are going to be, doing your annual review forms, things like that. So they're not arduous assignments, and you're not going to need to do lots of reading in order to complete them, or that kind of thing. So that's how that works. So so the main thing of supervised ministry is this is about ensuring that you have got some people and structures in place that are going to support you and your growth as you both explore your call and do the work of ministry that you are doing. So supervision is a really important partnership between the local church or ministry context where you are doing ministry, and with the National Board of Ministerial Formation. So all of the things that we ask you to do are really about giving the board a picture of the kind of ministry that you are doing, the kind of work that you're doing, how you're growing, what you're learning, and it helps us to support you, and it helps us to know where you need some extra support, where you're growing, how we could help resource you better. And yeah, so it is about a partnership that's about your growth and learning. So supervised ministry is a requirement of ministerial formation, and so whilst you're in a ministerial formation, you're required to be in the SME program. So the real cornerstone of that is supervision, and supervision is there to help you explore your strengths and weaknesses, establish personal and ministerial goals. It creates opportunities for more personalized coaching to help you develop ministry skills, evaluating problems, developing solutions, gaining a deeper understanding of the ministry, help you to improve communication skills, developing skills in conflict resolution, considering ethical issues, balancing your ministerial obligations, so the obligations of the ministry you're doing, along with personal responsibilities, family responsibilities, those kind of things. Processing what you're learning, processing some of the challenges of ministry, and exploring questions that arise during your ministerial formation journey. So there are two types of supervision, and we require all of our ministry students and licensed ministers and commissioned ministers to have two supervisors, an internal ministry supervisor. So this is someone who is your day-to-day supervisor. And so for those of you who are working in a local church context, in most cases, that's probably going to be the senior or lead minister in your church. or in some cases it might be somebody else on the church staff, but who is most directly working with you in your role as in that. So if you're a youth pastor, it's probably going to be your senior or lead minister, but it might be an associate if you work more closely with the associate minister. So you'll probably have an idea of already of who that person is. So we help to support that person who's your ministry supervisor, to work with you to help coach and develop new skills, help you identify areas that you want to develop. So Steph and I will work with you and your internal supervisor to work out where you want to grow and what kind of ministry experiences that you want to have as you grow through this journey. So that might be, hey, I've never preached before, but I'm keen to give it a go, and I want some opportunities to do that, and we can then work with your local church minister to help create space for you to be able to do that and try that out in a safe kind of space and grow. So yeah, depending on where you're at and what kind of ministry you're doing, identifying those areas for development and experiences that you want to have to grow. Your internal supervisor also provides some reports to the National Board of Ministerial Formation. That's part of that assessment and evaluation process. Depending on the location of your ministry placement, like I said, that it's generally going to be your local church minister, or it could be another experienced ministry practitioner. Usually it's someone from within WMCANZ, but not always. So for example, one of our current licensed ministers is a student chaplain. She works at in a tertiary education space, and her internal supervisor is someone from the board that looks after the chaplains on campus. But then they also that particular licensed minister also has an external supervisor, but who is someone from within WMCANZ, so that we've got the kind of the two things there. But her internal supervisor, who's working with her more directly, and is observing her kind of doing her work and does the reporting for us, is actually not someone from within our church, but that's because of the context that she's working in. So how that looks really is a bit dependent on exactly the kind of ministry you're doing and who you're working with. And so then the other kind of supervision that we have is external supervision. So external supervision, this is about providing us a space for you to unpack questions about your call, about ministry, about your personal growth that is actually outside of your immediate work context. It creates space for reflection and ministry practice. And your external supervisor is not someone who does any kind of reporting to the board. And it is really important that you have a space that's your space, that you know that if you've got a hard thing that you're wrestling with, that you can do it in that space without feeling like everything you say is going to be evaluated. So it's a really important to have both those two things, the internal supervision and the external supervision. It allows external supervision is something that we actually encourage all of our ministers to be engaged in. I personally have a supervisor that I meet with every six weeks. Having external supervision is something that I see as being an essential part of my growth, and it's a place where I can wrestle with hard ethical issues that come up in the context of ministry in a confidential environment. And it provides space for you to explore your call and what's happening for you in a much deeper way. And it supports your personal well-being. So it's essential that your external supervisor isn't the same person as your internal supervisor. And it's part of their role, because the external supervisor, it's part of their role to really help you process that day-to-day ministry. So your external supervisor is appointed with the guidance and agreement of the Director of Ministerial Formation. So basically what we encourage you to do is think about, if you don't already have, so some of you might already have a spiritual director or supervisor, but if that's not something you've ever done before, we encourage you to, if you have any idea of where you could engage someone to do that, then that you have a go. But if you want help to find someone, or you're really lost, you don't know where to start, then we do have some resources that we can direct you towards, that will help you to connect with someone that's a good fit for you. So that's that. So this is contact details for me and for Steph. So me as Director of Ministerial Formation, I oversee the program, and I usually liaise with Steph. At the moment, I'll be picking up, just coordinating your program while she's on leave, and just ensuring that you've got an appropriate ministry placements and supervision in place. And so Steph, when she is back, will be here to support and facilitate your ministry placements and the experiences that you're having and working with you around things like your goals and things like that. And she'll be regularly in touch and contact with you, and can act as another kind of support network for you as you go through the formation process. So supervision is really kind of the cornerstone of what we do, a really, really important part of your process of formation. So I'm going to flick on down because what we do in this, so I'm gonna flick down to our schedule. So that first date, obviously, we push through. We're a week late on orientation. My apologies for that. So this date, the 3rd of August, we do have a little bit of flexibility, particularly given that we're having this meeting a week later. For some of you, so the first thing that we need you to do is your ministry covenant and supervision agreement. So your ministry covenant is basically, it identifies where you're doing ministry, and what kind of ministry you're doing, and we encourage you. I know that some of you are a volunteer, some of you are in a paid role, some of you are in a combination of having some paid hours and some volunteer hours. We get you to identify that. It's not that any one of those things is wrong or right, but for us to support you and ensure that you are being well looked after and that your workload isn't crazy out of proportion, which ministry can become. And I think particularly for you guys as ministry students, what I find is that often everyone is really eager to be engaged, and often end up being loaded up with too much. And so we want to ensure that you are being looked after, that the workload isn't unreasonable, and that where possible, that local churches are able to at least remunerate you for some of your hours if they are able to. So we get you to identify those things because it's information that helps us to look after you. We're not doing it to judge you, we're doing it to look after you. That's why we ask those questions. For those of you who are in a paid role where you've got a job description, on the ministry covenant form, you can just bullet point the important things. You don't have to go into all of the detail. It's basically that ministry covenant gives the board a kind of overview picture of what your role is and what you're doing, which means that when things like annual reviews come up, they look at your, because some of them might know you, but most of them won't. So they'll look and they'll go, okay, who is this person? And this gives them a little picture before they meet you, and when they look at things like your annual review forms and ministry reflections, that all of that stuff goes towards giving them a picture of who you are and what you're doing, and helps them to understand your ministry. And then that helps them both to support you and help you to grow, and it helps them to make good decisions about how to support your progress as you go along. So ministry covenants are hopefully relatively straightforward, and supervision, for some of you, that parts of that will be really straightforward because you might already have those things in place, and it's just letting us know who those people are. So the supervision agreement form is really, it's just identifying so that we have on file clear who your supervisors are. And with your internal supervisor, we get them to do a report once each semester to give us a picture of how you're doing. And your external supervisor, we don't get any reporting from. The only thing that we ask is that they sign off that yes, you have gone to supervision with them, that you have actually been doing it. That's so, but we don't get any other information from them apart from asking for a sign off of yes, this person did come to see me in my capacity as a spiritual director or supervisor or whatever, and they came X number of times over the last year or 6 months or whatever. So that's what we do there. So and that's just that's just about safeguarding to ensure that you've got the right supports in place. And if it's I know for some people supervision is a really new thing, and so I like to be very open with people that I too have a supervisor. One of the agreements with my supervisor, because of my role in the national church and my local church role, that part of the agreement I have with my external supervisor is that I have a signed off covenant with her that if something comes up where she thinks that I am either because I'm not coping or am doing something that she believes is unethical, that she has permission to contact our national superintendent or someone within our local church servant leaders, because I think those structures of accountability are part of what keeps us safe for ministry, both in terms of keeping us safe in terms of our well-being, but also that we are operating in a way that is safe as ministers growing. And that begins right from this beginning point as ministry students, because we are entrusting you to care for people. And sometimes with the best intentions, we can end up in some bad places. So we encourage you to have those, we require you to have those supports in place right from the beginning. And I would say, as someone who's been in some kind of supervision pretty much from the beginning of my time exploring a call, when I was first starting to explore a call for ministry, a good good friend who was quite a bit older than me, but was a good friend, encouraged me to get a spiritual director, and it was probably the best advice I ever got. And I've been in some kind of spiritual direction or supervision ever since, and I can't begin to stress just how important and valuable that is, for ministry life, and for being able to sustain ministry, because the figures for burnout for people in ministry are pretty sad. It's a ministry burnout is a very real thing and a very all too common thing. But having really good supervision in place, whilst it doesn't guarantee that won't happen, it's a really good way of catching things before they get to that point of crisis. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to have those things in place. So that's the two main things that we do at this stage. And then later on, we'll have this professional development log. This is basically just a way of you telling us about things that you're engaging that are helping you to grow in your both in your own spiritual life and in your growth as a minister. So that could be anything from a podcast to a book to a course you went to a speaker you went to see. And it's just noting those things down. So it's one of those things that I encourage you to just kind of keep the record going all of the time. So it's easiest if you don't have to rush the night before it's due or the day that it's due to try and remember all of the things, but just when you do stuff, note it down. And it can include things like if you have been running a study with some of your young people at church and you read a few things to help you prepare for that, that counts. If you're doing a sermon at church and you read some things to help prepare for that sermon, that counts. Anything like that, anything that you're doing that's part of that, you can record on that professional development log. One of the cool things that I find about looking at those is I almost always come across things that I've not engaged before that are really valuable. And so one of the things that we do at our cohort connects, which basically is us getting all of you guys that are on this journey together and give you some opportunities to connect with each other. So as we do cohort connects along the way, some of those will be you'll spend most of the time in a smaller group with 2 or 3 other people talking through what's happening for you, praying for each other, sharing resources, talking about challenges, those kind of things. So you'll have opportunities to do that. And one of the things I find really interesting always at those with our licensed ministers is when they share some of the resources that they've been engaging, because it's just so interesting hearing what everyone's been doing, and I know that they find that valuable too, finding out what everybody else has been engaging. We learn lots, and it's a great way of kind of widening the pool of voices that are feeding into our development, because we're all exposed to different things, so that's kind of cool. I'm feeling very aware of time. So then the other thing that we get you to do is some ministry reflections. And ministry reflections really are just about trying to provide some space for you to reflect on what you've been learning, and to give us a picture of that. And like I said, those ministry reflections are so valuable for our board to have a really good understanding of who you are and how you're growing, because that's what really matters in this formation process, is how you're growing, how God's growing you, and what you're learning about yourself as someone doing ministry. So they're not assignments in the sense of go away, read some stuff, write us an essay. They're not like that. It's more practical, and it's about what you're doing in ministry. Cool. So any questions that anyone wants to ask? I feel like I've bombarded you with a lot of information, but does anyone have any questions that they want to ask right now? If things come up when you go offline, or tomorrow morning when you wake up and you go, oh gosh, I wish I'd asked, you can email me, you can pop a question in the Google Classroom, anything, yeah, anything, and we can engage those. Yeah, so cool. Cool. Well, hopefully that gave you a little bit of a clearer picture of what we're doing here. Do feel free to get in touch with me if you've got questions about things as they come up. And if you're having any problems and you're not sure about how to fill in your ministry covenant or set your goals or find supervisors, then please do get in touch. Like I said, Tuesday is the best day to get hold of me, but I am available at other times. Yeah, so just get in touch and we can and I can support you to get what you need. Let's pray to close, and then I will let you go. We will be connecting again. Let me just, our first cohort connectors on the 29th of August. So that will be after your ministry covenants and supervision agreements are in, but before those next things. So if questions come up about professional development logs or your ministry reflection, then we can talk. We usually take 5 minutes at Cohort Connects just to talk about the stuff that's coming up and make sure that everyone's clear about what they need to do. But we try to focus our time on you guys connecting with each other and chatting about things. Cool. Well, let's pray to close, and yeah. Father God, I thank you for your presence in the lives of each of these people, the way that you are calling them to you and calling them to serve your people. I pray that as they begin on this journey, that they would know your presence with them, that your spirit would be stirring. I pray that you would give them wisdom and grace in the ministry that they do, that you would be working through them in amazing ways. And I pray that they would each know your sustaining presence with them as they serve you and serve your people. In Jesus' name, amen. Cool. We are done. Sorry that went a little bit over time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. So we'll connect again on the 29th of August, and and I'll look forward to seeing you then, but do get in touch in the meantime if you need to. And if you have, like I said, any problems with those ministry covenants or supervision agreements, just get in touch and I'll help you to get what we need in place. We can jump on Zoom or a phone call and sort out what we need to sort out. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Melissa.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Melissa.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye.